Belly fat just appears in midlife and it's so hard to get rid of. I should know because I had the same problem too. Back in 2018, I was failing to get rid of belly fat, and then I started taking part in bikini competitions and learned this amazing method that could just strip belly fat away. And I'm going to show you the exact process that I used with over 10,000 women to melt menopause belly fat in just 6 to 8 weeks. Hello fam, and welcome to my channel. My name's Melissa Neal, and this channel is all about helping you, if you're a woman over 40 or like me over 50, get in incredible shape. And one of the things that's really preventing us doing that, isn't it, is this dreaded belly or menopause belly fat. But in this video, I'm going to show you why you get middle-age spread. 2 simple food changes that you can make to strip belly fat, and the exercise that actually works to shred that belly fat. First off, I'm going to show you the shocking reasons that you get belly fat and why you hit over the age of 40, it just kind of seems to appear from nowhere, doesn't it? Because your body has changed. So I'm going to talk about one of my clients, Linda, who got rid of her belly fat. But when she first approached me, she was really unhappy about her body. She was struggling with belly fat after having a child, even though she was doing the exact same strategies and nothing had changed since her younger days. And she couldn't understand why the traditional methods for fat loss just weren't working anymore for her. She couldn't find clothes to fit if you had that problem, and she realised she had to make a choice. She either had to buy new clothes or find a method that actually works.
I am 5'2". I started at 150 pounds. So for my frame, my height, that weight does not look good. It doesn't feel good. I was uncomfortable in my own skin, and I did not like that. And I told myself something's got to change. I either need to go shopping for more clothes because I was not comfortable in my skin and in what I was wearing, or I need to lose weight, get healthy, and fit into my closet full of clothes.
So Linda decided to take action and actually join my program. And as each week passed, she saw her waistline was diminishing, and she was so elated because this kind of progress has actually eluded her before. Linda had a smile on her face on the end photos that you can see here compared to the beginning photos, because she made amazing progress in just 8 weeks.
Here I am today. From 150, I'm down to 133, so 17-pound weight loss. Not only did I lose all that weight, but I also lost inches. I lost inches in my chest, my arms, my waist, my hips, my legs. Everywhere I needed to lose those inches, I lost it. Thank you so much. My husband loves it. He loves seeing the difference in my attitude, and my body is just, it feels so good. My kiddo loves it. I'm able to go longer without getting so fatigued and tired. So thank you so much.
So what happened to Linda, and why did she gain so much weight in the first place? There were 3 things that were causing Linda's body to gain weight and find it really difficult to lose weight. And the next thing I'm going to talk about is what those 3 things are. I'm going to show you the first thing that's happening to your body with a wet sponge. So in your body, imagine this is your body. I'm going to pour water onto this wet sponge. And you can see what's happening there. The water's spilling out because the sponge cannot absorb any more water. And that's what's happening to your body with something called insulin resistance. Your body can't absorb any more glucose. So the water is actually glucose and your body can't absorb anymore. And this happens to so many women. You can almost assume when you hit perimenopause or menopause, that's what's happening to your body. And because your body can't absorb that glucose, that sugar anymore, it turns to fat, and it typically sits around your midsection. And that's what happened to Linda, and that's also what happened to me. The second really frustrating thing that was happening to Linda's body, and happens to all our bodies when we hit over the age of 40, is we're going to be losing estrogen. And when we're losing estrogen, our bodies are trying to produce estrogen. And the real rub is that producing estrogen will also cause your body to produce all this fat. And it typically sits around your midsection, which is really frustrating. The third and most critical thing that's happening to Linda's body, it happened to my body, and it happens to every woman over 40. You're losing this, you're losing muscle, and it's declining at a rate of 1% per year. Why is muscle important? Well, muscle is like these logs on this fire, and I'm going to add some more logs in here. And what is that going to do to this already raging fire at the moment? Well, if I add more logs in, it's going to make that fire burn longer, and it's going to burn hotter. And that's what you want to happen to your body. So when you've got muscle on you, your body is going to burn calories for longer, and it's going to burn calories more effectively without effort. You could be just sitting around, you could be sleeping, anything that you're doing through the day. Your muscles that I just showed are just like this fire. They're going to be continually burning them. As you get older, you're not getting the magic benefit of that fire, in other words, muscle. And I'm 58 now. If I hadn't done anything about it, my muscle mass would have decreased by 18%, because it's 1% per year after the age of 40. So we want to do everything that we possibly can to keep that fire burning, and I'm going to talk about it later in this video. There is just one more thing. We've got a lot going on, haven't we, that was happening to Linda's body, but it's also happening to my body. So at the time that I was competing in bodybuilding shows, I was finding that my legs and ankles, the lower part of my legs and my ankles, were swelling up. And, you know, I was getting so worried about it because I was competing in shows, and it was kind of leading up a few weeks to a show, and I found my ankles and my lower legs were swelling up. And I'd like ring my coach and say, what can I do about it? And she was getting me to like lie down with my feet up to stop that from happening. But what was happening is inflammation in my body. And also another form of inflammation I was getting is my gut was really going off. I was having real digestion issues, even though my diet was kind of really clean leading up to a show. Your diet's really clean. And so this is what's happening to women over 40, menopausal women, is we're getting inflammation in our bodies. And inflammation can take many forms. It could be like the water retention that I was getting. It could be like problems with your gut health, and it could be like joint pain. Joint pain is really common. Pain in your hips, pain in your knees, any kind of joint pain. That is also inflammation in your body. And inflammation in your body is a huge problem, and it's actually going to cause weight gain, and that weight will typically sit around your midsection, and it's going to be really difficult to lose weight. We've discussed all the things that are going wrong with your body when you hit over the age of 40 that make you gain weight. So that's insulin resistance, that's loss of estrogen, that's loss of muscle, and that's inflammation in your body. So what that means is there's certain types of exercise or diets that just don't work anymore, that you did in your younger days, which were great, but because of those changes in your body, they're just not going to work anymore. And I'm going to show you what they are, because I get so frustrated. I did these, and I don't want you to do them. I don't want you to make the mistakes that I did. So you can start seeing inch loss in a matter of 6 to 8 weeks. The number one thing that really does not help us anymore is long distance running. And it's kind of any sort of endurance training, but typically women take up running and then they find that, oh, I'm not losing this fat, I've got this fat around my midsection, so I'm going to do more and more running. And guess what? That's what I was doing, and I'm going to show you this picture, and it actually made it worse. I was gaining more and more weight because of the things that I've talked about. It doesn't address those things, and it's particularly bad for actually throwing water on that fire. So remember that fire we were talking about? Running throws water on the fire. Why? Because what it's going to do, it's going to reduce your muscle mass. So the more and more running you do, especially long distance running, you're going to find that your muscle goes even more depleted than it already is. You're already losing muscle mass at a rate of 1% per year, so you cannot afford to lose any more. The other thing that doesn't work is low carb or low calorie diets, really extreme diets, and even extreme fasting, like 1 meal a day when you get older, because guess what? It's going to throw water again on that fire and kind of stoke it out. Because what's going to happen if you've got really low calories, not only will you lose weight on the scale, but you'll actually lose muscle as well. And you can't afford to lose muscle. You need to build your muscle up as you get older to put back on the muscle that you've lost in the aging process. And so in this next bit, I'm going to actually talk about the right kind of exercises you can do that are actually going to stoke up your fire, stoke up your metabolism. So the right type of exercise is the kind of exercise that's actually going to increase your muscle. So what you're going to be doing is increasing your muscle. You're not going to get bulky, because what you're really doing is you're putting back the muscle that you've lost through the aging process. And what's going to happen if you do that is it's going to add logs to your fire. So remember those logs we were talking about? If you put more logs on your fire, which is muscle, you're actually going to be burning more calories. So throughout the day, whatever you're doing, you're going to be burning more calories. And the way to do that is lifting weights. And it's going to be lifting weights either at home or at the gym. It doesn't really matter. You want to be lifting weights 3 or 4 times a week, and you want to be doing it for probably 30 to 45 minutes, something like that. That is all. And so when you are lifting weights, what's going to happen is you're going to build more muscle and you're going to be burning more calories just when you're sleeping, when you're resting. But there's another benefit to lifting weights. Do you remember that sponge I talked about with the water and how it couldn't absorb any more water? Well, if you have muscle on you, your muscle acts like extra sponge. So if you've got the extra sponge on your body, you're actually going to absorb more of that glucose, more of those blood sugars, more of that glucose, because it's actually going to go into your muscle and it's not going to be stored as fat. So lifting weights is absolutely the way forward when you're trying to reduce belly fat, because it's going to tackle 2 of those big problems. And that's why I have remained lean for so many years. It's kind of like 7 or 8 years now I've managed to remain lean, because I've got muscle on me. And so what it's doing is it's helping me combat insulin resistance, and it's helping me combat that slowing metabolism. However, there are 2 more forms of exercise that are going to keep stoking up that fire, adding logs on the fire. And the first exercise I'm going to talk about is walking. Walking is absolutely fantastic for reducing belly fat. And you want to be getting in at least about 7,000 steps per day to kind of make some inroads into that belly fat. And it really does, it boosts your metabolism, it fires up your metabolism, But what it doesn't do, like any intense cardio, long periods of intense cardio, is it doesn't deplete your muscle mass. So you can walk for miles. I did a walk the other day where it was like an hour. I met some family for lunch and I walked an hour there and an hour back. And it doesn't deplete my muscle. But if I'd run there, it would have depleted my muscle. So walking is absolutely fantastic. And then the third form of exercise that's actually going to add more logs to your fire, and that is high intensity interval training, and that's HIIT. Now this isn't a must do, but if you can do it and you're fit enough to do it, that's like 30 seconds of flat out, really intense activity. It could be sprints, it could be running, it could be through like a workout. I have workouts that I, run on my programs that I give people, like military fitness, circuit training, anything like that, where you get your heart rate really up for 30 seconds and then you do walking pace for 2 minutes. And guess what? You only need to do the full workout for, say, 15 minutes, a maximum of 30 minutes, and you're going to get a great result from that. Just doing it like 3 or 4 times a week, maybe even less. I do it like 3 times a week. A couple of times a week I only do about 20 minutes, and then the other session I do like 40 minutes. So it's only in total an hour and 20 minutes of cardio per week. And that's all you need if it's the high intensity interval training. You don't want to do long extended periods of cardio. So we've explored exercise and what you need to do to reduce belly fat, the type of exercise that's going to work. And now we're going to explore food, because food is probably the most important thing of all. So food is going to help you tackle 3 of those things on the list. And that's going to result in reducing your midsection. So it's going to help you tackle inflammation, it's going to help you tackle insulin resistance, and it's going to help you build muscle. And all these things will help you actually really torch that belly fat. Literally going to happen in a matter of weeks if you follow this process I'm going to talk about now. So we've got inflammation going on, and we've got insulin resistance where that sponge cannot absorb any more water, and so the food that you eat is going to make a massive difference to that. So you're going to need to be cutting out ultra processed food, refined sugar, refined carbohydrates, and you're also going to need to cut way back on alcohol. It's going to tackle inflammation in your body and insulin resistance if you do that. But also you need to be leaning into healthy whole foods. So that's things like fresh fruit and vegetables, could be frozen as well because they're still packed with nutrients, frozen fruit and vegetables. And it's like, if it can walk, fly, run, or it grows in the ground, eat it, but do not, or if it grows on trees for that matter, but if it's had a lot of tampering by people before it gets to your plate, before it gets to the supermarket even, then you don't want to be eating it. You want to be eating as much fresh whole foods as possible, because that's going to help you tackle insulin resistance and it's going to tackle inflammation. But there's certain foods that are really, really more helpful for inflammation in your body, and they're kind of anti-inflammatory foods. So that's salmon or any kind of oily fish, that's green leafy vegetables, that's berries, that's tomatoes, that's mushrooms, that's peppers, even 70% cocoa, dark chocolate, which I absolutely have. I've been actually eating 80%, which is even better. If you eat that, just a couple of small squares though, not the whole bar, it's going to help reduce inflammation in your body. And then green tea is a great drink that you can drink for reducing inflammation in your body. There is one more amazing food group that if you incorporate into your diet, it's going to really torch belly fat, and that's protein. So we talked about stoking up your fire with strength training. You also stoke up your fire, rev up your metabolism with protein. It's literally like adding more logs onto the fire with your metabolism. And when you do this, also what you're going to find is you actually feel really satisfied. So it actually stops you snacking on the things that I said don't eat. So like your refined sugar, your refined carbohydrates, like the white bread, the white flour stuff. You want to be avoiding that. But if you're full on protein, it's going to really help avoid getting those cravings. What happens with protein is it takes your body longer to break down protein than carbohydrates and fats. So that's why it keeps you full and satisfied. Protein will also support strength training. So when you're lifting weights, you want to be eating as much protein as possible so that you actually build muscle, because building muscle is actually done through nutrition and not just lifting weights. So if you put the two together, your fire, your log fire, it'd be like adding 10 logs to that fire. It's going to burn longer and it's going to burn hotter. So you're going to get amazing results with your metabolism and therefore your fat loss. And particularly the fat loss around the midsection, which I find with tons of women that I've worked with. So we've seen 10,000 women through my programs, and what they find is the first place that this goes, the fat, you know, when they're talking about losing fat, is it actually goes around their midsection if you're following this process. With protein, you want to be getting in a gram of protein per pound in body weight. Or if you weigh over 170 pounds, just shoot for your goal body weight. So most people, and I'm talking in grams, even if you're in America, most people, they'll be wanting to get maybe anywhere between 130 grams to 180 grams of protein per day. And it's absolutely doable. Well, there's one more thing. You do need to be in what's called a calorie deficit. So that's burning more energy than you're consuming. And for some people, that's really hard to tell whether they're doing that. You know, people often will say, well, I'm in a calorie deficit, but they say, I'm not losing weight. And so that is when a coach becomes really great. And, you know, when I experienced coaching for myself, when I was going on my competition journey, that's when I made real inroads. You can make great progress with a coach because you've got a workout plan and a nutrition plan that's actually tailored for you to get the best results. So if you want to experience something like that and experience things like Linda that we showed earlier, and plus the 10,000 women that I've worked with, I have a comprehensive coaching program specifically designed for women over 40 to receive one-to-one coaching from either me or one of my team, expert team, who are actually certified menopause weight loss coaches. So if you are interested in applying for a place on my coaching program, do click the link below and make an application. And I look forward to hearing your story about why you would love to receive coaching.